Hey team, so today I'm going to be walking us through the proposal cloud and I'm going to show our team how we can best optimize the inputs within the proposal cloud to maximize the output of that pink team draft. And what I'm going to be showing us today is called what I call the core 4 principle, where if we focus on these 4 areas in the proposal cloud, this is going to optimally maximize that pink team draft. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and walk us through it. So within the proposal cloud here, the first thing that we are going to notice is the outlines and the finalized drafts of our proposals here. What this is going to look like is if we hop into each opportunity, it's going to take us to the solicitation tab where it's going to show us a bunch of core information on the opportunity, the solicitation package that's being passed through, and the document types that are being associated with here. The first area of our core 4 principle is going to be compliance. As you guys know, compliance is the very baseline information that you need to address in that proposal in order to get that out the door, right? So the system is going to leverage this as the very baseline guardrail when generating content. The system is going to automatically, on the first output, it's going to generate a compliance matrix and an annotated outline for our team's review, then we'll go through and input the core 4 principle to then generate that pink team draft here. So what you guys are going to notice from a compliance perspective is we're going to see a direct mirror of our annotated outline here. If we go into the drop down, it's going to show us which information is being passed through this outline section here. So exactly how you guys would do it the manual way, where you would go through and build out that outline and nest the evaluation criteria, ITOs, and task areas under each individual section. The system is going to take a very similar approach. We're going to be able to see which page it got that information from, which document it's pulling that information from, down to the paragraph and line number, and how it's classifying that information, whether that's an instruction to offer, task area requirement, or an evaluation criteria. The system will also go through and it'll pull in those shall, will, must statements for us as well. Go back to another section, show you guys another example. Pulling in some instructions. See here, it'll pull in the scope, instructions to offer. So this is going to be a little bit more of a traditional looking compliance matrix. I'm going to show you guys how to modify this in just a moment. When we hop into the outline here, and the compliance is going to be part 1 of the core 4 principle. We do have full control over this outline where we can reorder sections by drag and dropping these 6 little dots here. We can go in and we can delete sections here. We can even go in and add brand new sections depending on how we want this to look. But what I really wanted to show today is how to modify those citations. So if we go into where it says citations, so I clicked into this individual outline section, go to plus modify citations, we are going to see a direct mirror of our annotated outline on the left-hand side of the screen. In the middle, you guys are going to see exactly what information from the solicitation document on the right-hand side is being passed through this outline section. What we can then do is we can go through and we can go to this little cursor and we can start to highlight additional areas if we wanted to be passed through as a compliance boundary for that individual outline section. So for example, if we wanted to combine some of this administrative information here, like maybe we wanted to have section B, the capability and experience information, and talk about this all in one section, right? We would go into our outline, modify that to have that one section about the capability and experience information, and then we can go through here and we can highlight this information. Now what's going to happen is when the system produces content for us, it's going to hit on all these purple highlights here, and we'll be able to see in the middle exactly which information is being passed through. Another quick thing is if you know for a fact when you were reading through that proposal, maybe there is a past performance section down the line, you can quickly just do this little search through document, like a control F in a Word document, and then it'll take you directly to that outline or the solicitation outline section here, or solicitation document section. What this is then going to allow you guys to do is just do a quick control F instead of scrolling on and on and on. You can also change the classification if you wanted to pass in evaluation criteria or task area requirements. And this is eyes shut and eyes closed. So if you didn't want to see task areas for this or evaluation criteria, you can close the eyes and you can open them back up here. So that is to wrap up the compliance, but that is going to be part 1 of the core 4 principle. Part 2 actually takes us back directly to our capture plan. So if we had run capture on this opportunity, it's going to take us directly back to that capture plan that we ran in the capture cloud, but we do have full control over this information. Part 2 of the core 4 principle is going to be focused around the solution tab. So what we're going to do here is, if you see in the solution tab, what this is going to do is take us to, obviously, our solution that we developed during the capture process. Again, we do have the option to go through and develop our capture plan in the proposal cloud. If we didn't have the luxury of running capture, maybe it's a last minute opportunity and we just want to adopt this information in here. As you guys know, a lot of times we don't necessarily have all this information flushed out, and we want to use the power of GovDash to adopt this information directly into the proposal. We can use the suggest answer feature, have the system help develop some win themes for us. It'll work its magic. It'll leverage the information from our data library and our contract inventory, and it'll produce this information for us. If we like what it says, we can directly insert it back into the tool here. And now what we've just done is, for this request for information for VHADHO, what we've done here is developed win themes that will then be adopted and woven throughout that pink team draft proposal. We can do the same thing with the approach here if we wanted to have a quick information breakdown of what the level of effort is. We like what it says, we can directly insert it back in the tool again. And then now the system will leverage the information on the level of effort when it's producing the content for us. Alrighty. I recommend going through and populating the answers to these questions that you think is most relevant for this opportunity. Anything that you don't have access to, definitely use the suggest answer feature. I do always recommend that customers leverage your interviews with the customer, your professional experience, your subject matter expertise, because ultimately that's the information that is going to help you win that proposal, right? And we want to make it easier to adopt that information into the pink team draft, but always feel free to leverage suggest answer and attach any documents if you don't want to type in the information. Maybe you get an email from a customer that has all this information. Feel free to go through and attach that document, and the system will adopt that information the same way as if you had adopted it here and typed out that information in the chat. The solution is going to be part 2 of the core 4 principle. Hopping back over to the outline, where we're going to go through the last 2 areas of the core 4 principle, which essentially will button this proposal up and allow us to go through and hit generate. If we go through here, the third area is going to be our writing plans. Writing plans are going to be designed to help establish additional guardrails from the system's perspective to help point the system in a direction to write and develop content that hit the core areas that you wanted to hit on. An example of how you can utilize the system to help create this writing plan for us is we can always go through here and we can say, what are 5 core areas I need to hit on when writing a management plan, right? So maybe if we're writing a management plan, for example, it can go through and it can help develop that writing plan for us, right? So it can help give us this information. For a writing plan, I recommend keeping it a little bit more high level. I always think of the system like it's a brand new team member who we just brought on board. And basically, if we want them to start producing value for the organization day one, if you want them to help you write a management plan, they're going to say, okay, well, is there anything in particular you want me to hit on? Anything important that you know I should hit on? It's my first day and I don't really have the lay of the land of the company, right? So this is where we'd be able to go through and start leveraging the power of the system, giving your teammate that high level overview. Hey, for a management plan, maybe I want you to hit on our strong recruiting numbers and our strong retention numbers, our team our strong communication skills, like, right? Those are silly examples, but it is kind of information that we want to utilize. Now we can say, summarize this in 5 bullet points. And we can use the system to help develop those writing plans for us. So if we pretend this outline section is a management plan, this would be a really great example of a writing plan. And we can also develop custom ones. So we can say, talk about our team's ability to recruit staff and staff that fully meet requirements of the solicitation, right, in 30 days or less. Solicitation in 30 days or less, right? So again, think of this as a brand new team member. You want them to help produce value for the organization day one. This is our ability to do that. This is area 3 of the core 4 principle. The 4th area is going to be our focus documents. So a focus document is a document that has content in it that you know for a fact is relevant, and you want the system to leverage this content first before you go through and hit generate proposal and let the system go through the data library and the contract inventory and come up with on its own what it thinks is relevant. Again, I'm going to use focus document as an example. Let's say that, if again, brand new team member, they just came on board. You say, can you help me write a management plan? Your team member is going to say, hey, what core areas do you want me to hit on? And what documents do I look through, right? Same thing with the system. Maybe we have a boilerplate management plan in our data library. We can go directly to our data library here. We can go in, search for that boilerplate management plan. Maybe this is just because this is a boilerplate management plan. And now the system, before it goes through, and let's attach this, do a corporate experience. And now what the system will do is it'll leverage these 2 documents first when it's creating content for this section before it goes through and references the rest of the information, right? So it's the same concept as if it's a brand new team member and you want them to help provide value to your team day one. I think of the system in the exact same light here. Now the system will read these 2 corporate experience documents before it goes through, and it determines what content is relevant. So it would pull from our data library and our contract inventory, but now we've told it to look there first. After we've gone through a couple little ad hoc items, let's go in here. We can go through, again, I showed you guys how we can add sections, we can move them, we can delete them. We also have control over the section title. We can assign reviewers, and these are going to be a drop down exactly who we have within the system. We also can modify section types, which you can hover over this eye and it will display all the different sections we have and the descriptions of them. We also can modify the language types here, and if you hover over the eye, it will show you how it will be using the section. We also can modify the page limits and the page target, which page limit is that hard page requirement set forth by the government. We have 5 pages to work with here, and this is what I need you to write to. Page target is, in an ideal world, maybe we have 5 pages, but I really only need you to write 2 or 3, right? So we're just giving the system a little bit more wiggle room, 2, 3 pages, but you have up to 5 pages if you think you need to write more here. Now, the last thing here is that when we go through, and I'll show you guys one more example here, and then we'll button this up. We can also go through and attach past performances to our bid. So if we know which past performance we want to use, we can directly attach those here. And we can also go through and we can assign labor categories. So we can go in, maybe we want a proposal manager. We want them to have an APMP certification. And then for example purposes, manages proposals. We add that labor category. Maybe we want to assign them as a key because we want to attach a resume. And then we can browse through our personnel. We can then go through and we can assign this person. We can then adjudicate personnel. And then that would be if we had the requirements here. So maybe we want them to have a APMP certification. And we want them to have 10 years of experience managing complex projects and proposals, and the system will automatically do this for us as well. And then we can adjudicate personnel. And if this guy Owen here has experience with this, it will be able to show us whether he has this requirement or not here. We can always go through and we can stack up multiple people. Seems like he's missing this, which was expected. We can also use the system to help find recommended personnel for us. And this is going to pull directly from our people tab within the data library. Once we've gone through, we've worked through those core 4 areas, which again, it's going to be solution. So it's going to be the solution tab here. Compliance, which we'd be able to modify directly within our outline here by scrolling down to citations and plus modify citations, working through those writing plans and those focus documents, and then those little ad hoc items in the outline. Once we're comfortable with how that looks, we go ahead and hit generate proposal here. You can either rate the outline. If you click cancel, it'll take you out of that. It'll show you your estimated page count, which past performances are being passed through, which key personnel are being passed through, which solution data, and then we'll be able to hit generate proposal. What this will then do is it will adopt all the guardrails that we put in place, our solution data, writing plans, citations, and it'll go through and reference those focus documents, and it's going to create us a really great pink team draft proposal. From there, the second half of the process is going to be the Word Assistant, and the Word Assistant is going to carry you guys throughout the rest of the review and recovery process, but more to come on that later. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope this was helpful and gave you guys a really great overview. Please let us know if you have any questions. We're always here to help. Bye.